Greg at Zen Make
Welcome back to the Design Make Play Show. My name is Siri Jones, and today in our interview segment, I am really pleased to have Carol Ballard here today. She is the education programmer with the North Vancouver Museum and Archives, a very cool organizations we've had a number of interactions with and meetings, and really happy to have Carol on the show today. Thanks, Carol, for joining us.
And thank you for having me.
That's awesome background you have as well. Can you just say a few words about what the picture is, and then we'll get into the cool kind of questions.
So this is an image from our archives, actually. It is of Streetcar 153, which used to run up and down Lonsdale. So we actually had a streetcar system here in North Vancouver. One line went up Lonsdale, one out to Capilano, and one out to Lynn Valley. And Streetcar 153 has an interesting story. Certainly served as a streetcar, taking people around the community and helping everyone in the community really get where they needed to go. But it also had a life after. It was a hotel cabin, it was a restaurant, and eventually a chicken coop. And then it was restored by some volunteers and will be in the new museum. And so you'll actually be able to come and visit Streetcar 153 and to go on board even.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I think I might have seen pictures of it, or did they ever have it on display outside anywhere, the streetcar?
So during last year's Canada Day parade, it actually made its trip down to the new museum at that time.
Okay, I thought I remember seeing it. That's awesome. So Carol, can you just tell us, you are the education programmer at the North Vancouver Museum and Archives. Can you explain a little bit what your typical day-to-day looks like?
Well, my typical day-to-day right now is anything but typical, as we are in the process of preparing for the opening of the new Museum of North Vancouver, which we are aiming for November of this year. But my role as the education programmer is really to connect people to the stories of their communities. So whether it be the streetcar or athletes within their community, places like the shipyards, so on and so forth. And so I really work with people of all ages. I research content, develop programs for school groups, for adult groups, for publics that come in for tours. And both for the museum site and for our archive site as well.
Well, that's must be a little bit challenging during the times of COVID. Is everybody working remotely, or are you still able to work in the office?
We're doing a bit of both. So at first, staff were largely working remotely, but now we're rotating in on site at our archive site up in Lynn Valley, and also working from home. So I'm actually at home right now.
Oh, okay. So I've got lots of questions about the museum, but first a little bit about your background. How did you get involved in the role that you have now, and a little bit about yourself?
So I was always interested in education, but in a bit of a roundabout way, came to study museum anthropology at UBC, and started working as an education programmer, heritage interpreter as a student, and fell in love with the field and grew into it that way. I was very interested in museums, though, starting from a young age. My father was a long haul truck driver, so I went with him for a month every summer and saw a number of museums across and heritage sites across North America as I traveled with him. So that's kind of what started it all.
That's really cool. Museums can be magical places. I know growing up, same kind of thing, just early memories of seeing, like, whether it's a science museum, a historical museum. This one sounds really amazing. So can you tell us a little bit? I mean, first of all, you've been, this organization's been going for a long time, and the archive site, I think you're celebrating an important milestone with the archive site building.
Yes, so our archives is actually in one of the old Lynn Valley elementary schools, just up on Institute Road, up in Lynn Valley, and it's the 100th anniversary of the building this year. So we will be celebrating that this fall and throughout the coming year. So that's an important milestone for our community and for the organization.
Okay, and I understand that it's still open by appointment. We went to the archives, some of the people from Zen Maker Lab, and it was amazing. It was so cool. Like, sometimes you think of an archive, okay, it's, files and things, but really amazing displays and really amazing things you can look up. How do people, if they want to check some of the history, what do they do?
Yeah, so we've definitely got a fantastic online presence on nvma.ca, and so you can visit our site. We have not just information about the organization, but you can actually go there and view online exhibits. You can view our blog called The Inlet. You can also view our database and start your research right there. So if you're interested in researching something about the community, or whether it be an organization, an individual, so on, you can actually start your research right there on our website, and that can help you then inform if you need to come into the archives. You can contact our staff. There's a place on our website now where you can book an appointment. It is by appointment only right now during the time of COVID, but that option is there as well, and certainly our staff can help you in determining what best resources, whether it's the website or whether you need to come in and view something in person.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and one thing that I found really cool when we were there is how you can track the history of a building or a house on the North Shore. So we happen to have a family lives in a heritage home. It's really cool to see like how far back there's records of who lived there, and very interesting.
Yes, that's what you can do that in person for sure. There's actually, if I'm correct, a blog post on that. So if you go to our blog, The Inlet, that's a good place to start for how to begin your research on your home.
Okay, and very exciting plans for the shipyards and area right across from Lonsdale Quay. Can you tell us about the new location and how that's shaping up?
Yeah, so we're in the process now of tenant improvements and going ahead with the installation of our exhibits, and so we are going to be located right across from Lonsdale Quay in the new Polygon Gallery. So there's an apartment tower there. We're the second floor. If you're looking up from Lonsdale or from Carrie Cates Court, but if you're on Esplanade, it's ground floor. And as I'd mentioned, we're aiming for November opening. And so right now that's what we're preparing for the move there and also the launch. So people will be able to come and visit us. We will be having some form of programming and tour, probably a mix of in-person and digital. That's what we're still working on at the moment, as things changed a great deal, as you can imagine, with COVID. Yes. But definitely there will be exciting activities and exhibits to see there.
Yeah, well, that's really looking forward to that. It's such a beautiful location. We'll have a new location just across from you in the shipyards area, so we'll be neighbors.
And looking forward to that.
What are some of the things that you're going to be showcasing once the museum opens?
Yes, so we will have brand new permanent exhibits, so that look at sort of the passion for the place that we live in on the North Shore, so the environment, how people have interacted with it, from Indigenous people to settlers and the contemporary community. We also will have focus on industry and enterprise, as well as connections and between people and places in the community. As well as I mentioned, Streetcar 153 and temporary exhibits. Our hopes to be able to change out, to have temporary exhibits and to be able to rotate exhibits more frequently on the site.
Okay, yeah, and I've heard some of the stories, and North Shore's got a very vibrant past, and even including things like technology, like some of the stories about first electricity use or something early on north of San Francisco.
Yes,
really cool
first
things.
Electricity north of San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that's part of our story, and certainly other stories of innovation. Even, for example, in the shipyards, sometimes the workers would make their own pieces, whether it be metal work or what have you, in the shipyards. So that is part of the story. We are going to be featuring, for example, some information about Phil Newton and a Newt suit and
Wow.
so forth.
Really looking forward to that. That sounds super interesting, and I think kids are going to love it, and youth, and
definitely.
I guess it's kind of all ages, is it? It's
It's all ages. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right from early childhood, we're actually working on. I have two students this summer working on some early childhood programming, all the way up to seniors, families, young adults, youth, you name it.
And how about some summer plans? Like it's November's a little far off, and can't wait to check it out when it's ready. But is there anything this summer that people can see or interact with the museum? I guess the website, the blog.
Yeah, so the website and the blog and our social media for sure. We've put out a call recently for photos. If anyone has photos of Lower Lonsdale from 1970s to the 1990s, as that's an area we're looking to build our collection right now. We are also going to, at the end of July, be launching a geocache adventure, just a fun shipyard selfie scavenger hunt on that platform. In lieu of the fact that we couldn't have our shipyard pals this summer, which is part of our theater program. They're usually out in the shipyards giving tours, but with COVID, they couldn't properly physically distance, and so we wanted to bring them back in a fun and interactive way, and still highlight the history of the shipyards, where Victory ships were built for the Second World War in particular. About 1/3 of the ships that were built in Canada for the war effort were built right here in North Vancouver. And so we want to bring forward that story, but in a way that encourages people to get outside and have a little bit of fun as well.
Okay, in our final minute, any tips that you'd recommend the kids and the youth, families watching the show, in terms of like a lot of the students are involved in science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and how does being in touch with the past kind of relate to all that?
So there's a lot of inspiration that you can get from the past. North Vancouver has stories of innovation in our own community. We also have plans from ships that were built here in the shipyards, for example. We have plans for the streetcar, of how it was built, which have been used actually by someone who built us a Lego streetcar model. So there's things in our archives that you wouldn't necessarily expect that could inspire design and making, for sure.
Okay, we're just going to have to wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for joining the Design Make Play show. Once again, we were very honored to have Carol Ballard here, the education programmer from the North Vancouver Museum and Archives. They got a lot of cool things happening coming up with their 100th anniversary of the building that the Archives is located in Lynn Valley, as well as they're going to be opening a new facility by the shipyards, Lower Lonsdale, across from Lonsdale Quay in the Polygon Gallery. Looks like November. Something to look forward to. Have a nice rest of the day, and we will see you on our next program. Have a good rest of the day today.